cause that be natural.
Lady
I ain't
D.
looking tacky. I keep my game tactful.
Yo.
Yeah, I'm so nappy.
M.O.B.
Cause that be natural.
The infamous.
I ain't looking tacky cause I keep my game tactful.
I'm so pretty, I'm so fat, boo. I'm so natural, it's like it's a taboo. I'm so filthy, got the tattoo stuck in these bitches like I own ragu. On my business with my platoon, getting these minutes like I'm a typhoon. Y'all this jersey on that cartoon and I'm sitting on top.
Hey guys, welcome back to Afros and Baby Hairs, and thank you once again for joining me in the reading room for book review number 6, The Cartel 6. So if you're interested in seeing how I felt about this book, please keep on watching. I do not promote or encourage anyone who is under the age of 18 to read this book or to watch this video. It is not my intention, nor do I desire to do such. If you are under the age of 18, I strongly recommend that you get your parents' consent and or supervision before reading this book. Otherwise, keep it moving. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's get into this review. Alright, we're going to start off by reading the actual back of the book. And it says, the Cartel series is back and more deadly than ever. Las Vegas, a city built on obscene wealth and corrupt deals, cunning entrepreneurs, and the ruthless mob, the cartel's plan to open a casino will rake in cash, but comes with great sacrifice. The stakes have never been this high, and the rules of the game have never been this hard to manipulate. And when one dead girl, one scorned wife, and one hole in the desert launch a chain of catastrophic events, the cartel is sent on a downward spiral as they battle the Arabian mob and fight traitors within their circle. Will the cartel prevail or fall victim to the city's black cloud? And if there's one rule in the town of Vegas, it's that when the dust settles, there can only be one winner. Let's get into it. All right, the book begins right where 5 left off. Basically, Carter's in the hospital with bullet wounds in his lungs. Monroe is there at his side, and the Arabian cartel is posted up. Baraka has men everywhere. And Aries and Mia Moore are posted in the trenches somewhere around the vicinity, plotting and planning. Zaire and Breeze are in Flint. Zaire is actually in the area where he was raised, where him and Carter was raised, Flint, Michigan. And Lena, Monroe's baby mama / wife, and their son, Little Monroe, as well as Carter's son, CJ, are on their way to a secluded location via one of the cartel's goons. Carter was approached by Baraka as soon as he and Monroe tried to escape the hospital. Baraka wanted to know where his daughter was. Yes, me. Carter ended up telling Baraka his daughter was dead. However, he would not give up Mia Moore. He tried to convince Baraka that it was all his fault, but Baraka wasn't falling for that. So by Carter not snitching on Mia Moore, the war had begun. Baraka left Carter in one piece at that moment, but Carter and Monroe had to get up out of that hospital. Even though Carter was in no condition to be leaving, they fled anyway, even while he was in critical condition. Mind you, he was in the ICU with bullet wounds. To the elevators, Monroe was pushing Carter in a wheelchair, and the elevator that they decided to get on had 2 cops on it. However, when they got to the floor that they wanted to get off of, 2 of Baraka men were ready to basically body them. However, Monroe and Carter thought that since the cops were on this particular elevator, that the men wouldn't do anything. But the Arabian men killed the cops with silent guns and were ready to murder Carter and Monroe. But just as they were about to shoot, the doors flew open and Aries shot the men first. Then she pushed Carter in the direction where Mia Moore was waiting in the getaway ambulance. Now, mind you, Carter's in a wheelchair. So she pushed Carter to the getaway ambulance while Monroe fired back at the Arabian army. Somehow they ended up losing sight of Monroe, but Aries managed to get Carter to the getaway ambulance. When he got there, Mia Moore was being held at gunpoint by an Arabian goon, and Carter ended up killing the man just in time. He had a pistol tucked away in his wheelchair. Mia Moore and Aries got Carter in the ambulance, but had to leave Monroe behind. He was still handling the army single-handedly. Carter didn't want to leave him, but they had to get out of there. Later, Aries showed up to Carter's and Mia Moore's house with Monroe in tow. Lena and the boys were driven to California. When they got there, they were greeted by Polo. He had set them up in a little house to hide out in. Lena didn't want the boys to know that they were in trouble or running away from something, so she allowed them to play basketball outside in the front against the cartel's goon that brought them there against his orders. And if that wasn't enough, she let them go get ice cream from an ice cream truck that had come through, and that's how Lena and the boys were kidnapped. The goon was inside the house getting Lena's purse when it all happened. Next point is Zaire and Breeze were in Flint, and Zaire was trying to get back in the game. He had went to sell dope to someone new and was paranoid about the dude because he was acting suspect. He ended up killing the dude, so he didn't sell anything that night. Meanwhile, Breeze had discovered she was pregnant due to morning sickness and some home pregnancy tests, but she didn't want to tell Zaire until she got it confirmed by a doctor. So when Zaire made it home and Breeze met him outside, he got a call on his phone, and Breeze had misplaced her keys to her own car, so she opted to use Zaire's car. Mind you, this is a car that he never allows her to drive. Anyway, she hopped in his car, and before she got around the corner good, the cops were on her. And you already know the drugs Zaire was supposed to sell that night, the night before, they were still in the trunk. So Breeze got the charge, and when Zaire came to the scene, they locked him up too. They ended up spending 48 hours in jail. Then somehow Zaire retained a Latina lawyer who claimed she was the best. And then when Breeze got out of jail, she still wasn't ready to tell Zaire about the pregnancy. Carter's residence, where Carter, Monroe, Mia Moore, and Aries was posted, the goons stopped by to let them know that Lena and the boys were taken. So before he could even finish telling what happened, Monroe put a bullet in his head. Later that day, Baraka called, and in the background you could hear the boys and Lena screaming. He told them that he wanted Mia Moore to turn herself over to him, otherwise he was going to torture Lena and the boys. Then he cranked up the chainsaw and cut off one of Lena's hands. Mia Moore decided to turn herself in to Baraka. She tried to get Carter to shoot her first, but when he couldn't bring himself to do it, she ended up drugging Carter with his own pain medicine so that she could turn herself over to Baraka, and Carter would be out, so he wouldn't be able to stop her. Calling Baraka, and decided he wanted to meet Mia Moore at the location where she buried his daughter. However, they had made that agreement and everything. She was on her way there, but on the way there, Mia Moore was kidnapped. At first, she thought it was Baraka's men, but later she found out once again it was murder, and to her surprise, Fly Boogie. They ended up putting her out with some chloroform rag. You know how they put the poison over somebody's face in a rag, so that's what it was. And she ended up being knocked out for 2 days, so she missed the opportunity to actually save her son. Lena had been delivered to Monroe with her hand cut off, and she was all disfigured as if she had been tortured and beaten. And of course, Monroe was livid. So yes, Lena was dead. The boys had not been returned, only Lena. They ended up having a funeral for Lena and memorialized the boys. Finally, Mia Moore was allowed to go to the funeral. once she explained to Murder what he had compromised for her. Murder sent Fly Boogie to accompany Mia Moore, but when she got to the funeral and tried to explain what happened, everybody there wasn't trying to hear it, especially Monroe. He was ready to take her head off. Carter was even finished with her because he felt like she chose herself over their son. He dismissed her and said that they could never be together again. Mia Moore went back to Murder, but she was devastatingly depressed. Back in Flint, Michigan, Breeze went to the doctor to discover she was having an ectopic pregnancy. She had started bleeding at home, and that led her to go to the doctors. So anyway, she went through a whole surgery and did not tell Zaire anything. He was on the way to visit Carter, who had relocated to the Colorado mountains, and he needed Carter to help him with some, the charges that him and Breeze were facing. As far as Carter was concerned, by the time
Zaire
he got up there, Carter was in the mountains alone, suffering from depression as well. He also was still recovering from the bullet wounds in his lungs, and he was also excessively drinking. So that wasn't making things any better. Carter was on the brink of suicide, but luckily before he pulled the trigger to blow his own brains out, Zaire knocked on his door. Zaire actually looked up to Carter like a father figure, so when he saw the shape Carter was in, he was concerned. They exchanged words for a minute, and then Carter shot himself in the head right in front of Zaire. Zaire called 911 and got Carter to the emergency room. They took him straight to surgery upon arriving at the hospital. Zaire didn't call any of the family. He just waited. Eventually, the doctor came out and told him that Carter would be fine. He just grazed his head. Zaire asked the doctor to put Carter in the psych ward to ensure Carter wouldn't do this again, and suggested that Carter needed counseling. Before Carter left the hospital, they had him set with a beautiful psychiatric nurse who would live with him for a while so that she could keep an eye on him. Her name was Samantha. Zaire didn't even get a chance to tell Carter what he came to visit him about. Zaire also chose not to tell anyone, including family, about Carter's condition. On to Breeze. Breeze was told that she only had a 15% chance of becoming pregnant again, and she decided not to tell Zaire any of it. Now back to Mia Moore. Mia Moore was only staying with Murder because she felt like he was the only one who could protect her from Baraka. She didn't want to be with Murder romantically, but Murder wanted to be with her. He convinced Mia Moore to sell her share of the casino so that they could get out of town and lay low somewhere else. Murder had to let Mia Moore and Fly go handle the casino business together. They ended up blackmailing and kidnapping a fat dude named Salerno because he was willing to pay cash for the shares. But because it was 2 a.m., he couldn't make the calls he needed to until a decent hour, so they stuffed him in the trunk until daybreak. Mia Moore ended up getting her cut, put it in a Swiss offshore account. I think she gave Fly Boogie a cut and told him to get out of Vegas because Murder had plans to kill him and was never going to pay him. He resisted, but he finally left. Later on, Fly Boogie ended up going to LA and he built an empire for himself, pushing prescription drugs. With the new status, he was invited to a gentleman's ball, and at this ball, he was introduced to Baraka and his 2 sons, Mo and CJ, which are Monroe's and Carter's sons biologically. So Baraka had not killed them, but had been raising them as his own. Now, this part of the book, it was like years later, like 3 years later or something like that. So yeah, he had the boys for like 3 years, raising them. He had the boys for 3 years. So, Baraka didn't know Fly Boogie had ties to the cartel, especially to Mia Moore. So he ended up stabbing Baraka in the neck with the corkscrew while he was using the men's restrooms and took the boys with him. On the next scene, he found Mia Moore and Murder living fake lives in the Bahamas under new aliases. Mia Moore was working at a bar as a bartender when Fly Boogie showed up to tell her he had killed Baraka and got her son back. She tried to break up with Murder, but he ended up shooting her in the back as she walked away. She fell into Fly's arms, then Murder shot himself in the head. Mia Moore lived. The bullet didn't penetrate any organs, just went in and came out. Met her son and her nephew at the hospital. When they left the hospital, they went to LA with Fly. There, Mia Moore decided to be a couple with Fly. Later, they took the boys to Monroe's home in Miami. Monroe was blown away, but also thankful to Mia Moore and Fly for bringing his only son back to him and for killing Baraka. After that, Mia Moore went to Colorado to find Carter. She found him shacked up with the psychiatric chick who didn't really know anything about Carter's past. Of course, Mia Moore let the girl know exactly who she was while she had the girl at gunpoint. Carter decided to go to Miami after finding out about his son. He brought his new chick with him, with Mia Moore. He also found out that Mia Moore had decided to be in a relationship with Fly, and he wasn't feeling it at all. Carter reunited with his son, finally. Breeze and Zaire came to Miami as well for the reunion. The next point is Sam's, Carter's new boo, is actually the feds working to build a case against the cartel via Zaire. The next point is Fly Boogie gets Mia Moore and Carter's son involved with some pills and guns. Mia Moore and Fly Boogie get into it, and Fly Boogie reveals to Mia Moore that he was the one that actually shot Carter, basically throwing himself under the bus and her back into Carter's arms. The Mexican cartel propositions Carter, even though Carter had kept his nose clean for 3 years, but he agreed reluctantly. The next scene, Mia Moore discovers that Sam is an FBI agent when she finds her phone and goes through it. Mia Moore decided to take the fall for the entire cartel on behalf of her love to Carter. Carter and Breeze find out that Zaire had turned informant. Breeze left Zaire for his disloyalty to her family, and she threatened to not have his baby. Monroe got killed in a blaze of glory right in front of his son. Aries decided to go have a visit with Sam to let her know how she personally felt about her taking down her sister, Mia Moore. The IRS ended up coming for Breeze for tax crimes, and at the same time, she was the guardian to Monroe Jr. and Carter Jr., so they probably ended up in foster care. And also in the epilogue, Carter was kidnapped and propositioned again. So you will have to read the book to find out what was that all about. Say, my opinions and thoughts on this particular book. First of all, I questioned the psychiatric nurse from the beginning. I felt like she was prying too much, trying to know too much about his past. And I know, it's good to know a little bit about the person that you're dealing with, but it was just her way, the way that she was doing it. She was like, tell me. You haven't told me anything. Tell me. Like she was trying to get this information. So that kind of threw me a little bit from the beginning. I want to mention that I did say that Breeze told Zaire that she wasn't going to have his baby. She was going to abort this baby. This is a second pregnancy, not the first one when she had the ectopic pregnancy, but this pregnancy was all, was a legit pregnancy number 2. So yeah, there's that. Kind of felt bad for Zaire because the only reason why he decided to turn on Carter is because of Breeze. He was trying to keep Breeze from going to prison. So I could see where that was a tug of war internally with him. But, I feel like he should have went to Carter, talked to Carter about it, let him know what was going on from the beginning. And like I said, he did go to visit Carter, but Carter was in a jacked up state. He was so depressed. He was on the brink of suicide. So at that point, Zaire really couldn't talk to him and expect him to be clear and level-headed. So I guess he just, maybe the FBI was pushing him or whatever to hurry up and make a decision. So that's what he chose, to throw Carter under the bus. So, and the rest of the cartel. But like I said, Mia Moore, when she found out, she was like, oh no, I'm not letting my good man with his good name go down for this good heifer. And yeah, so that's basically my thoughts. I'm glad that the boys lived. I kind of figured that they weren't dead when Baraka didn't send their bodies with Lena's. So I kind of figured it. But yeah, guys, I'm about to get into book number 7, the Cartel 7. And I do want to let you guys know that the Cartel 8 will be out in August. I think it's called Devil's Money or something like that. I will let you guys know and keep you posted on the book number 8. I do want to thank you all for tuning in today. I really appreciate your time and energy. I hope to see you guys on the next video. Peace and love, and as always, be blissful.
DJ Mike C on the track.
Cause that be natural.
Lady D.
Ain't looking tacky. I keep my game tactful.
Yo,
Yeah, I'm so nappy. Cause that be natural.
The infamous.
Ain't looking tacky. Cause I keep my game tactful.
I'm so pretty, I'm so fabu, I'm so natural, it's like it's a taboo. I'm so filthy, got the tattoo, fucking these bitches like I own ragu. On my business with my platoon, getting these minutes like I'm a typhoon. Y'all is jersey on that cartoon, and I'm sitting on top of these buffaloes. I'm so nappy, I'm so nappy. All these dudes that wanna get at me, I'm so cultured and I'm happy. Jealous what you wanna come back me, cause I'm comfortable in my skin. End of the day, you lose, I win. I'm so comfortable in my ends. Don't care if I make or lose a few friends, and I look like $1 trillion. Lady B won a lotto, cause in the Lord I trust. And beauty is the motto. Naturally thick in the butt, I'm Billy Blanks on the Tabo. Edges a little rough, just pretend I'm from Morocco. Organ all up in my hair, cause I let my locks grow naturally. My curls popping everywhere, I'm maximizing on this natural thing. Like it or not.